guidelines in detail. So friends, let's begin with the first what are the topic we are going to discuss. So first we will study what is money laundering and what is financing of terrorism risk. Then after we will see the introduction part. After that we will see the stages of money laundering, stages of financing of terrorism, objective of prevention of money laundering. So in today's lecture we will discuss all these 5 parts, and in the rest portion we will discuss in the next lecture. So let's begin our discussion with the first point, that is what is money laundering and what is financing of terrorism risk. So friends, first of all let's understand what is a money laundering. So money laundering is a process where money obtained from illegal activities, some illegal activities like drug trafficking. You can see here it is written. So you can see the drug trafficking is written, gun smuggling is written, okay, and or corruption. So these are some illegal activities. So money is made and it looks like it come from a legal source. It appears that it comes from a legal source, but it does not come from legal source. It's come from a illegal source, right? So this is about money laundering. So criminal hide their origin of the ill-gotten funds. So criminal does not disclose, right? So criminal does not disclose. So they hide the origin. Okay, they hide the origin of their ill-gotten fund by passing them through various transactions, and financial institution make them appear legitimate. So that's why it is called legitimate source. The second point is regarding financial crime, that is called FC. So what does FC means? So financial crimes means what? It encompasses a range of illegal activities which is related to money and finance. So as a name suggests, it's related to money and finance. Okay. So series of illegal activities which relates to money and finance, this is called financial crime. So let me give you some example, like you can say corruption. Okay, so corruption is one of the best example of financial crime. The second example is so what does corruption involves? Corruption involves the abuse of power for personal gain. The second is tax evasion. So tax evasion which involves intentionally avoiding paying tax. So you are not paying tax intentionally. So this is called tax evasion. Corruption means you are using your power for your personal gain. Then another type of financial crime is Ponzi scheme. You know what is Ponzi scheme? So Ponzi scheme, investors are promised higher return but are paid with fund from new investor rather than the actual profit. So this is called Ponzi scheme. So these three things are the types of financial crimes. The next type that we have is terrorist financing. So terrorist financing, short it is called TF. In short it is called TF. So what does it mean? Basically it refers to the process of providing funds or resource to support terrorist activities. So to support terrorist organization, to support terrorist activities. So terrorist financing refers to the process of providing fund or resource to support terrorist activity. So with the proliferation of various terrorist organization, both large organization and small organization, right? So with the proliferation of the terrorist organization, both large and small, terrorist financing have become a significant concern. You can see it has become a significant concern. The fund used to finance terrorism can come from various sources. Now after that let's see the interconnection between MF, TL, TF and FCC. ML stands for money laundering, okay, financial crime, and TF stands for terrorist financing. So let's understand the interconnection between all these three. So friends, money laundering, terrorist financing and financial crime are interconnected in several ways. So criminal involved in illegal activities may form, this is the important part, OCG. Please remember, the full form of OCG is Organized Crime and Crime Group. So it is called Organized Crime Group, OCG. So see what happens, the criminal involved in illegal activities may form the OCG, okay, and collaborate. This criminal collaborate with whom? This criminal collaborate with, these criminal OCG criminal collaborate with PML. What is PML? Professional money launderers. Okay, so OCG collaborates with PML to conceal the origin of their fund. Money obtained through financial crime or money laundering can be used to finance terrorist activity. Therefore, addressing these issues require a comprehensive approach to combat money laundering, financing crime and terrorist financing. Now let's move to the next slide. Hopefully you have understood what is OCG, what is PML, and every aspect related to ML, PFF, KFC. Now let's see the next slide. So here it is talking about FATF. What is FATF? Financial Action Task Force. So let's understand what is the meaning of FATF and study in detail. So friends, FATF is a global organization. First of all, this is a global organization. You can see it is written. This is a global organization that was established to develop and promote measures aimed at preventing money laundering. So what was the main aim of this? To prevent ML. ML means money laundering. So this FATF sets international standard. So it sets the international standard. So what does FATF do? It sets international standards and guideline for financing sector business and certain non-financial sector business. So this is about FATF. FATF is a global organization which is that was established to develop and promote measures and aimed at preventing money laundering. Now let's study what are the stages of money laundering. So there are several stages of money laundering. Let's discuss. The first stage is called placement. What happened in placement? So in the case of placement, this is the first stage of the money laundering process. In this stage, the fund which is obtained from criminal activity. So from criminal activity, you are getting fund. So this fund are introduced into the financial system. This is our system. This is our financial system. And in this financial system, these funds are induced. Okay. So typically, criminals do this by depositing the illicit fund into multiple bank account. So they deposit the amount in multiple bank account, not a single account, right? So by placing the money into banking system, they give it appearance of being legitimate fund. So once these fund enter into banking system, it appears that these are legitimate fund, right? So this is the first stage of money laundering, that's called placement. The second stage is called layering. So let's discuss what is layering. So friends, in this stage, the launderer engages in a series of complex financial transactions. So there is complex financial transaction. Okay, so this complex financial transaction within those bank account. So what is the purpose? The purpose is to create multiple layer of fund transfer and transaction, making it difficult to trace the original source of the fund. So from where the fund originated, it is difficult to trace. The launderer may move the money between the different account. He may conduct various transactions or convert it into different forms. So what are the different forms, right? So he can convert into buying and selling asset to confuse investigator. So right now we have studied the two stages, that is the placement stage and the layering stage. So basically these are crucial for money launderer to distance the illegal fund from their criminal activity and make it difficult for authority to detect and trace the origin of illicit money. So these are the two important stages of money laundering. Let's discuss the next stage of money laundering, that is called the integration. So I will try to explain each and everything using example in the simple word possible. Okay, so let's discuss integration. What is the meaning of integration and what are the steps involved in integration? How does terrorist engage in integration? Let's discuss. So friends, integration is a final step in the money laundering process. This is the final step. The first step was we have studied. So after the fund have gone through the placement and layering stage, the launderer collect the money from multiple account. So they are multiple account, right? So from this multiple account, the launderer collect the fund, okay, and consolidate it into one or few account. There is a single account in which all the funds are consolidated. So these accounts are then used for legitimate purpose such as investment, purchasing asset. So this is called integration. By integrating the fund into the regular financial system, the launderer gives the appearance that the money came from legal source. So let me give you an example. So friends, a criminal may take the money they initially placed in various bank account and transfer it into single account, which they then use to buy a property or invest in a business. Now let's talk about stages of financing of terrorism. So friends, the first stage is raising. So let's discuss what is a raising. So terrorist organization need fund to carry out their activities. Obviously. So they raise these fund by raising. So individuals are there, okay, who contribute. Individual contribute. So from individual they raise this fund to their cause. The source of this fund may include donation. What are the sources? So the sources may include donation, the sources may include fundraising event. So they are some fundraising event, right? So the sources can be fundraising event, can be donation, and even criminal activities. These funds are collected in a secretive manner to avoid drawing attention to the purpose to which they will be used. So let me give you an example to make it more clear how raising is done. Suppose a terrorist organization is there. Okay, so this terrorist organization receive financial support from individual. So who is supporting them? Individuals are supporting them who share their extremist ideology, or they may receive funding from criminal network involved in illegal activities. So some criminal network may be there who is involved in illegal activities like drug trafficking. So these criminal activities organization, these individuals support this terrorist organization. This is called raising. The second step is called moving. What is the meaning of moving? So see, moving means what? Once the fund have been raised, terrorist organization need to move the money to a different location to support their activities. So they have to move the fund, right? So contributor to this organization can be located anywhere in the world, not just in their home country. Therefore, the fund may need to be transferred internationally to reach the intended recipient. Okay, so friends, this movement of fund is often done discreetly through various channels to avoid detection by the authority. So let me give you an example of how moving is done. So friends, see, fund might be transferred electronically. So there might be electronical media through which fund can be transferred through multiple account or physically carried across border. So it is important to note that these explanations are simplified, right? So now let's see the next part. We have studied the two stages of financial terrorism. The first is raising, second is moving. Now let's discuss the third stage. That's called storing, right? What is the meaning of storing? So we have seen the fund has been raised and they need to be stored, or obviously that once the fund have been raised for terrorist activity, they need to be stored or kept secure, right? So they need to be stored or keep secure until they are used. These can avoid placing the fund in a bank account or making them on other financial investment. So where to store? This is the crucial question, that we have raised the fund. Now the pertinent question is where to store this fund. So this is all about storing. Okay, here storing comes into picture. So let's see how storing is done. Let's see in detail how storing is done. So friends, here we are placing the fund in bank account or making other financial investment. The purpose of storing the fund, what is the purpose of storing? The purpose of storing the fund is to keep them accessible for the terrorist organization when needed. So whether it is for carrying out a specific act or terrorism or for day-to-day operational activity. So let's take an example. For example, fund raised for a terrorist organization may be temporarily stored in a hidden bank account. So there may be a hidden bank account, okay, from to where this fund have been stored, or they may be invested. So they can invest it. So where they can invest it? They can invest in a legitimate business to camouflage their true purpose. So this is called storing. The last step is using. So the ultimate objective of the financing terrorism is to use the fund for carrying out terrorist act. So this can include what? This can include purchasing weapon. So they may use the fund to purchase weapon, right? They may use the fund for propaganda effort. They may use the fund for recruitment and training of members, planning and executing attacks, maintaining safe house and infrastructure. So these funds are utilized to enable and sustain the operation of the terrorist activity. For instance, the raised fund might be used to buy explosive or firearms, pay salary to the members, or fund propaganda. So friends, these are some of the now let's discuss what are the main objectives of money laundering. So in the next slide we will discuss the main objective of money laundering. The first objective of money laundering is to prevent criminal activity. So now the main objective of the preventing money laundering is to stop criminal from using the financial system to hide and legitimate the proceed of their illegal activity. So see, by implementing some measures to detect and deter money laundering. So friends, for example, let's take an example. Suppose a drug dealer is there. Who is there? Drug dealer. So suppose a drug dealer is there. So this drug dealer, he earns a large sum of money from selling drugs. So they may try to deposit that money into a bank account to make it appear legitimate. So what he does, he deposited this amount into bank account, so it appears that it is legitimate. So any anti-money laundering measures help in identifying such suspicious activities and prevent the criminal from successfully laundering the money. So this is what is the objective of money laundering, right? Prevention of money laundering. So one thing we have discussed, the first point. Now let's discuss the second objective of money laundering. The second objective of money laundering. So money laundering is often associated with various criminal activities such as drug trafficking, and human trafficking, corruption. So money laundering are associated with these things: drug trafficking, money laundering, corruption, etc. Fine. So by implementing effective anti-money laundering measures, the aim is to disrupt the financial network and transactions that is associated with these criminal activity. So by cutting off, so you can see the prevent aspect of the criminal activity. So by cutting off the financial resources available to the criminals, it becomes more challenging for them to continue their illicit activity and expand their influence. The third objective is to you can see financial crimes including money laundering can have detrimental effect on the economy. So how they can so you can see in the perspective of economy we are talking about. So they undermine the integrity of the financial system, they distort the market, they harm the overall economic stability. So implementing a robust anti-money laundering framework helps protect the economy by promoting transparency. The fourth point we have is regarding one of the key objectives of the preventing money laundering is to prevent terrorists from accessing and utilizing financial resources. You can see from gaining financial resources. So it means that from accessing and utilizing financial resources to carry out their activities. Terrorist organizations rely on financial support to fund their operation, recruit member, plan attack. So anti-money laundering measures help in detecting and disrupting the flow of funds to these organizations. Now let's discuss AML framework in India. So AML framework in India, what does it mean? So in India, entities operating in the financial sector and designated business in non-financial sector are referred to as RE. So first of all, we understand what is RE. So please understand, in India, there are some entities which are operating in the financial sector. So entities in the financial sector, right? And designated business, okay, in the non-financial sector, so they are called entities. These entities have the responsibility to implement anti-money laundering measure and report suspicious transaction to the appropriate authority. Okay, so what is the role of these reporting entities? So they have the responsibility to implement, we have discussed what is the objective of anti-money laundering. So these anti-money laundering, so that is called AML in short. So to implement anti-money laundering measures and report suspicious transaction to the appropriate authority. Now let's discuss FIU-IND. What is FIU-IND? Financial Intelligence Unit India. So it has been established as the central agency to receive information from various financial transactions from these reporting entities. So friends, FIU-IND collects and analyzes this information to detect patterns, trends, potential money laundering activities. It acts like a central hub for the dissemination of financial intelligence to the law enforcement agency for further investigation and action. So hopefully you have understood what is the role of FIU-IND, what is the role of reporting entities. Now let's discuss Enforcement Directorate. So let's discuss the next point that we have is regarding the Enforcement Directorate. What is the role of Enforcement Directorate in detail? So let's discuss. So friends, Enforcement Directorate is the investigative and prosecutive authority responsible for handling cases related to money laundering. So whatever cases are there related to the money laundering, these are handled by whom? These are handled by our ED, right? Short we call ED. So it is an investigative, it is an investigative and prosecuting authority. They are a specialized agency that investigate financial irregularities and money laundering offences. So what is the role of ED? Tell me, what is the role of ED? So their role is to gather evidence. So what they do? They gather evidence. So they gather evidence, okay, they conduct investigation and prosecute individual or entities involved in money laundering activities. So let's take an example to make it more clear. For example, if there is a suspicion of money laundering in a high profile corruption case, the Enforcement Directorate would investigate the financial transaction and pursue legal action against those responsible. Now we have some special courts. See, special courts are established specifically for adjudicating cases related to money laundering crimes. These courts have jurisdiction over cases involving money laundering offences and dedicated to handling in these courts has the power to freeze asset. So what does it power? He has the power to freeze asset. You can see he has the power to freeze asset and take appropriate action related to the proceed of the crime. So for example, if an individual or organization is found guilty of money laundering, a special court can order the freezing of their bank account and seizure of their property. Now let's discuss the regulators. Hopefully you have understood what is ED, what is a special code. Now regulators of the various business activity covered under the PMLA. What is PMLA? Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So the regulator issue operating instruction and guidelines for businesses under their jurisdiction. These regulators are responsible. So friends, we are talking about regulators. So these regulators are responsible for overseeing and supervising a specific sector. What is some specific sector? So like banking is a specific sector, like insurance is a specific sector, okay, or securities. So these regulator issues guidelines, they issue instructions to ensure that these businesses comply with anti-money laundering regulation and implement necessary measures to prevent money laundering. So now money laundering offense, let's talk about money laundering offense. So there is a section number 45 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act (PMLA) that stipulates that all offences under PMLA are deemed to be cognizable, okay, and non-bailable offence. So whatever offence are there under the PMLA are deemed to be cognizable and non-bailable offence. So what is the meaning of this cognizable offence? Let me clear. So cognizable offence are those where the police have the authority to make an arrest. So police can make the arrest, okay, without a warrant and initiate an investigation. And what is the meaning of non-bailable offence? So non-bailable offence are those where bail is not granted as a matter of right and can be decided by the court based on a specific condition. This provision ensures that money laundering offences are treated seriously and allow law enforcement agency to take immediate action. For example, if someone is suspected of being involved in significant money laundering scheme, police can arrest them without a warrant and begin the investigation. So hopefully you have understood this concept. Now let's move to the next slide. So friends, let's see in the section 4 of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So what does it say? It specifies the punishment for money laundering offence. So according to this section, a person found guilty of money laundering can be sentenced to rigorous punishment of minimum 3 years to 7 years, right? But up to 7 years. Additionally, a fine can be imposed based on seriousness of gravity of the offence. So based on the seriousness of the gravity of the offence, a fine can also be imposed. So this provision aims to deter individual from engaging in money laundering activities by imposing a significant penalty. Now let's discuss the money laundering risk perception. So money laundering and financing of terrorism, you know ML, FT. So ML and FT risk primarily arise from customer engaging in suspicious financial activities. So now let's discuss the risk. So these risks are further influenced by various factors. Now let's discuss what are those factors which influence these risks. The first is nature of product and services. Let me elaborate. So friends, certain financial products and services are more susceptible to money laundering. For example, you know, international wire transfer. So this international wire transfer, you know, so these are more susceptible to money laundering and terrorism financial risk. For example, so international wire transfer or anonymous prepaid card so may be attractive to individuals seeking to move fund illicitly. The second factor is country of incorporation of the bank. What does it mean? So different countries have different level of regulatory framework and enforcement mechanism to combat money laundering. Bank incorporated in countries with weaker regulator may be more vulnerable. The third point is place of bank branch, where the bank branch is placed. So friends, let's see transaction involving high risk jurisdiction or individual entities with history of involvement in money laundering activities pose increased risk. For instance, if a bank receives a large cash deposit from a person with a known criminal background, it raises suspicion and increases the risk of money laundering. The next point that we have is nature and value of transaction. So what does it mean? So friends, unusual or complex transactions such as those involve large amount of money, frequent transfer, structuring transaction to avoid detection, raise red flag so for potential money laundering. So understanding these risk factors help financial institutions such as bank to identify and mitigate potential money laundering risk. So hopefully you have understood what are the money laundering risk perception. So now so the next part we will discuss in the next lecture, which will be available to the paid member. If you want such type of videos, please WhatsApp me on the number. I will provide you the paid course detail, and you can get the paid course detail by WhatsApp me on the number shown on the screen. That's all for today. Thank you.